I'm Jason Klom, and this is Comedy on Vinyl. The album, Adam Cayton-Holland performs his signature bits, and I can't speak, and I hit my microphone, and the artist of the album, Adam Cayton-Holland. My guest this week, Adam Cayton-Holland. We have not done this since, it's been like maybe 8 years since I have, or 7 years since I've had somebody come on to talk about their own album.
Oh, man.
And
Crazy.
and the last time it was not vinyl. It was Rachel Bloom talking about her only album. And that was back when I was not as picky about having vinyl people exclusively. But
yeah, that's a good get. Rachel Bloom rules.
Yeah, she's great. She's absolutely great. Also, what I love is I asked you, can I record video, and something has happened with my green screen where it is partially cut off. So again, super professional today.
Yeah.
I
the
have your
vinyl
record.
behind you's gotten huge.
Yeah, it really has. So this is your record in my hand.
Yeah.
It is a delightful record. I did a little unboxing video, which has not come out yet. I wasn't expecting this. A very beautiful, like honey yellow vinyl.
Yeah.
Like see-through honey vinyl.
Totally.
It was a very nice color. How much input did you have in the making of the physical album?
I had input, and I didn't know. I was just pumped to have a vinyl album because I'm a vinyl head and was really excited about that fact. And I was like, I don't know, just black? And they're like, no, let's do something cool. And then they sent me a couple options, and I got to peruse it. And so they led me in the right direction, and then I made the right choice.
And it is... I like when people pick a very stoic cover. Like, this is bordering on a Civil War portrait. That's what this is.
Look at me. I'm bordering on a Civil War.
That's true. That is true. I will say now, is this a quarantine beard? Is this specifically a quarantine beard, or is this how you would normally live your life? Because I love it.
It's longer than normal, but I have a pretty robust beard. Regardless. This is good. This is Founding Father.
I have also never had an album. I've never busted out an album and been so distracted by the first 10 seconds of it because they literally, someone literally made the decision to dub over Comedy Central with Saddle Creek. Whose decision was that?
That was Saddle Creek. I love that. They were
fantastic.
Because I talk on the first track about how this is my Comedy Central record.
Yeah.
And then Saddle Creek, who wound up putting out the vinyl, just dubbed over Saddle Creek. And I realized that I say it again at the end of the album, and I wish we'd done it there, but even just the one is very funny.
Oh no, it's great. I mean, it's one of those. I don't know. It was a thing where I don't think. Even I don't always pay attention to the first few seconds. Like, it feels like, oh, this is the introduction. Let me settle into the record. But it definitely pulled me into it because I'm like, what the fuck just happened? Was this? Yeah. I thought, like, did I get some weird copy where it's copy protected? I'm like, oh no, that just said Saddle Creek.
It sounds very illegal. We experimented with a couple of voices. I wanted to do like the Radiohead, like fitter, happier, more productive voice. But that didn't sound right. So this one sounded funnier.
It's very good. No, it's delightful. We can go all over the place, or we can strictly talk about the record. But we usually, even if we talk about somebody's record, talk about, because it's not the first album you ever made, obviously.
No.
So if you are a vinyl collector, do you have vinyl comedy albums? Let's start there.
I have a handful of vinyl comedy albums.
Mm-hmm.
I have couple Bob Newharts. Of Steve Martin, and then I have ones that I've gotten from friends. So I have like Rory Scovel gave me his, and then I have Kyle Kinane's Death of the Party.
Yep, same.
But truthfully, I don't often listen to them. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't gather around and listen to comedy on vinyl. I'm around comedy so much that it's like it's not how I spend my downtime. But sometimes drunk alone, I'll be like, let's just throw on this record right now. Mm-hmm. But typically when I'm listening to vinyl, it's music, you know?
Yeah. Growing up, were you a comedy album kid at all? Or just TV specials, or what?
This is like the worst, but I think I'm not alone in this. The only I never listened to comedy growing up, never watched stand-up growing up. I loved The Simpsons, I loved The Onion, I was a comedy nerd.
Sure.
But I wasn't a stand-up nerd. But the one exception was on road trips, my dad would throw in Bill Cosby's Fatherhood on just a cassette tape.
Yeah.
We would laugh our asses off. And that was like the only stand up I listened to, and now I tell that story and they're like, that's not a quaint memory at all. I'm like, I
You
know.
know what though? Here's the thing. But I mean, people get it's so funny. People are so hesitant. I do tell people like, don't pick a Cosby album because I won't talk about it on the show, like as the subject of it.
Yeah,
but I mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't erase like the fact that that was a thing that your family shared.
It's some zeitgeist stuff. I'm not
Uh,
gonna. I can't take it out of the
you
zeitgeist.
can't. I had a math teacher in high school who would tell, because I had never heard Cosby bits, I'd only seen the show, and he would tell Cosby bits as though they were his. Like
Oh,
the
nice.
chocolate cake
How's
for
that?
breakfast was his story, and he was such a good storyteller. I'm like, that's fucking good. That's a solid piece of work. He pulled a Greg Fitzsimmons before Greg Fitzsimmons started actively stealing Cosby's bits just to take them back, which I really love that he did for a while.
That's amazing.
It's one of my favorite
Your
things.
teacher. I mean, whatever works, right?
Yeah,
You're in the
right?
trenches for 9 hours. Throw out some Cosby bits. Who cares?
Why not? And they were entertaining as fuck, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's the funniest man I've ever met. And then later on, he actively was like, those were Cosby bits I was doing. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. How was I? And just to fuck with us, very good stuff. I mean, I'm all for people reclaiming this stuff. Why not?
Yeah.
So I did say 2018. The album came out 2018, but the vinyl, of course, as you pointed out, was released just this year. So who did our artwork? Is that Jeff
It's my buddy Jeff Tice.
Tice is how it's pronounced? Okay.
He's a Denver comedian who's very funny in his own right, but he's such a good artist, and he's one of those guys who like doesn't need it because he has this very lucrative graphic design job where he works for major companies and makes a lot of money doing it, or does fine. But he's become just a very go-to guy for comedy posters and artwork. So lots of shows in New York and LA are using Jeff Tice, and I don't know if you're aware of like Dave Clock.
Oh yeah, I love this shit.
Yeah, Dave, in my opinion, sort of passed the comedy poster baton to Jeff.
Okay.
So you see Hot Tub in LA and Butter Boy in New York City. Like Jeff's doing stuff for them, so it's cool. It's been fun to watch Jeff sort of rise in prominence as a comedy artist. I'm a big fan of that dude.
What do you? We haven't talked about this kind of thing in a while because it just doesn't come up as much because why were you as excited to have a vinyl record as you were? I know why I'm going to be excited once that happens, but I'd like to know why it matters to you.
I don't know. I mean, this Comedy Central album was so cool, and it's the first thing I've done with Comedy Central, and I was delighted by that fact. But then I remember when we were doing the marketing and stuff, they're like, we're not even going to make CDs. No one buys CDs.
Yeah.
So it'll be a digital download. So it's like this vague, it's not physical. It's just in the ether is my album somewhere. And we printed up little posters and gave digital download codes, but it's still like not the same.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of felt intangible.
Yeah.
And vinyl is the definition of tangible. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to music and entertainment, that you listen to audio. And so I just always wanted that. And it just seemed like a way to make it more permanent. I'd done other 2 albums on a local label called Greater Than. Mm-hmm. And those were more in the era of CDs being relevant. So they'd be these like release parties and people would buy your CD and you'd sign it. And it was just cool. You felt like a proper artist.
Yeah.
So when the digital download, when the Comedy Central album came, it was torn because it's like, dude, I'm on Comedy Central. This is more legit than I've ever done it. But also there's nothing physical to show that.
Yeah.
So it was really a double whammy when like Saddle Creek, which is a label that I absolutely love and have kind of worshipped from afar for my whole life. When they wanted to put it out and then Comedy Central agreed, it was like, man, the coolest thing ever.
Well, because that's the hard. I mean, not to get too much into the dirt of it, but like that's the hardest thing in the world is getting 2 companies to agree, especially when one of them is owned by Viacom. Have them be willing to be like, yeah, sure, someone else can release our shit. Why not?
And there's this great producer at Comedy Central. I have a new album coming out at Comedy Central, shameless plug, on August 3rd. I got another album coming out,
amazing,
which I'm very excited about. And I worked with the same producer who I worked on this album. His name's Jeremy Westfall, and that dude was like so cool and convincing the corporate overlords, like, this doesn't matter. It'll be a small release of records. Let them do it. It's a cool label. And he got through them and they did it. So I was all shout out to Jeremy for helping make that happen.
I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that, most, even if you record your own sets, it's still relatively ethereal. It's gone the second it's done. Even if your set is to the letter every night, which is rare. So the idea, I understand wanting something not just permanent, but something that could potentially be a piece of art in somebody's home. Like I have a bunch of records hung up in my place, especially once they're signed, it does, there is a sense of accomplishment, right?
Well, and I got a 1.5-year-old now, so it's like I want him down the road to be like, this is my dad's album,
right?
When he's like in college or whatever, and then they'll unearth a record player from whatever apocalyptic wasteland they're in. They'll dig it up out of a lithium mine, and they'll listen to it, and then they'll be like, wow, better times.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be anything before this year is a relic now, a weird relic of a time when certain shit.
My wife and I were talking about that last night, and it's like all my career plans and things I had going. It's like, forget it. It'll be a different approach come post-COVID, but
I mean, and especially for somebody who's got to perform in front of physical human beings. I understand people are doing more outdoor comedy. That has become a solution.
I've done one, and I'm doing another one in a month.
Okay.
The one I did was at a brewery, and it was weird, but it was also great. Like it was just so nice. Everyone was rusty. The audience was just kind of there because they were at the brewery, there was maybe half for comedy, half for the brewery. But all the comics were like, that was the best night I've had in months. And I'm organizing one that's in a couple weeks with my buddies that I think it's at an outdoor amphitheater, so I think it'll be more like intentional. I'm excited for it. But yes, it's a whole new landscape.
Does it feel like starting over a little bit, like just a smidge, where if you're that rusty because you literally have not had the opportunity to do it?
You know where it showed, and this is like some super insider comedy nerd shit, but this is your podcast.
Yeah.
It was in the sort of riffing in the moment. That's when you can tell you're like sharp comedically. And so it's outdoors at a brewery, and I'm telling my jokes, and they're going fine. Even trying new shit about coronavirus, because how can you not?
Yeah.
And a car alarm keeps going off. And then like a bus drove by and somebody yelled something. And normally you'd like have the perfect response back to the material, but it just kind of like got me off my game rather than being like, funny retort, I'm in charge, back to the material. It was like, where was I? It was kind of like a stammering moment. And when you're in game shape, you don't have those,
People don't appreciate the level of improv skill you have to have if you're a stand-up. That is one thing that does not often come up.
More some than others, for sure. But,
sure.
4 months on the bench definitely fills that edge a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, like I perform on stage once a month normally, but it is not stand-up. I don't do stand-up. The thing that I do is just performing with other people where we have lines and we get to take our time, and there's rarely improv, and if it is, it's drunk and stupid. So I feel for you. I cannot relate. This is one thing.
Sketch comedy or?
I normally do sketch, but the thing that I do live, this is the weird thing. My sketch comedy has never been performed live. It's either on video or on audio. I've made a bunch of albums, never on vinyl yet, which sucks. But
you'll get there.
We'll see. Maybe if vinyl still exists. That's the other thing, by the way, for anybody listening who doesn't know, like one of the world's biggest vinyl pressing plants burned before all this shit happened too. So now it's harder to get vinyl. You can get it made. It just takes longer now. I only know because a friend of mine runs one of the bigger comedy record labels, and he's like, yeah, just so you know. And I'm like, oh wow. Fuck. And he's like, fortunately, I don't usually go through this place as much, but it's still, it slows everything down. But yeah, I do a show that is just, there's not really much stand-up involved, so we can do it by Zoom. We can't, stand-ups talk about doing their work by Zoom, and that just makes no sense to me. I can't imagine doing a Zoom show.
Zoom shows are brutal. I've done a number of them, because like when this all started, you want to see what's the new landscape. Of
course.
And it's the first one I did made me like legit depressed for like 3 days. I was just like, that was awful. I'd rather not perform than do that. Mm-hmm. And then I've done a couple others where it's like they put it up so people can laugh. You can see and hear the people laughing. That's a little better, but it's still so fucking awkward. It's not good. I mean, if you stick to your bits, you're screwed. You should just riff and be silly
Mm-hmm.
and do visual gags and bring crap in. And
Yeah, isn't that weird that you just by dint of of the technology, you have to sort of become Carrot Top a little bit.
I mean, I just keep pulling shit up and like being like, "This is my sponsor," you know, and like just shouting out to different sponsors throughout this after every joke.
Yeah, because it's its own thing, man. Like, it is not. I mean, this is why I was thinking about this recently, because a lot of people come on like, yeah, I can only do stand-up. I can't imagine doing improv, or vice versa. And I usually say the reason I won't do improv or stand-up is because I think it's sort of shitty to say, I've been thinking about stand-up. It's like, no, you don't. If you really I feel like, am I wrong? Is it a thing where at least where you have to do it? Is that how you feel?
Where you have to do what?
Stand-up. Yeah, where you stand-up is a thing that you need to do.
Oh yeah, man. So many people. Oh, like me personally need to.
Yeah, because a lot of people are like, I should try. It's like, maybe don't just try it. I feel like it has to be a gut thing where you really
it has to
need
take hold of you for
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, I'm not that cruel about it. Like if you're like, maybe I should try it, and you try it, I feel like when you try it, that's when it's the heroin shot.
Sure.
And you're like, this forever. But so if you're like, maybe. I suggest trying it, because you could very quickly be disavowed of that
That's
notion.
true. That makes sense.
Which is so, and everyone puts so much, fear into it, but it's like, go to a shitty open mic, no one will know. The course of the world will not change if you do great or if you bomb.
Fair.
And
right.
and then you'll know. But anyway, like I agree with you shouldn't be a hobby comic once you start doing it.
Right. Yeah. I guess, your first try, I still won't do it because it frightens the shit out of me. I can do improv, but the idea of doing stand-up.
I've done both. Improv is scary to me, but I definitely am not as big a hater. I used to be. It's like stand-up versus improv.
Okay, yeah.
And then it's like, who cares? We're all the same nerds. Like, it's all good.
Well, I mean, there's also an element of most stand-ups, again, like, have the capability of adapting. Otherwise, they're not going to survive. So there's an element of improv.
The riffing, in the moment, yeah.
Yeah, and there's some people like Jimmy Pardo who do almost nothing but improv, but it is still stand-up.
Yeah, for sure.
But there are also, and I know this as an improviser, you've got shit in the back of your mind. You've got gags ready to go if you need them. That is, I mean, at the very least, you've got shit that you can always pull from. It's the sort of the old vaudeville thing where like, oh, if this bit doesn't work, fine. You break out the fish joke, whatever it is, the fish gag. Like,
I got this banana peel in my pocket, burning a hole.
So if you've got a thing planned, there's an element of writing. There's an element of, I won't say stand up, but it's similar enough. There's enough planning where there's so much crossover that there's really no point in differentiating. It's just a slightly different approach to the same friggin' idea.
I agree, man. You're all dancing around the same muse. So,
yeah.
This is what being an old man gets you. Because earlier I'm like, fucking improv nerd, stand up for life. But now I'm like, dude, we're all just trying to make people laugh. It's okay.
I will say stand up works better as an album. Something scripted works better usually than improv on an album.
Yeah, I'd only want to see 1% of the top improvers in the world just doing it on an album. Okay, go for it, and I'll think this could work. But yeah, I can imagine.
Can I also tell you what a relief it is to listen? Now, I've heard you before, and I've seen you before, and I knew that I would find you funny. But it is one of those things where anytime I'm sent a new album, there's always a little bit of worry that somebody's gone over the edge and they've turned insane. You never know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because I used to get. I don't want to shit talk anybody. I used to get guests where I realized I hadn't vetted their comedy before I had them on. You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
And this is one of those records that, just to put it, it's on the right side of history. We'll just say that. Like, you're an open-minded gentleman with a brain in his head. And that's not always, there's some things on here. Like, literally the name of the second track on this album is Least Favorite Race. And I roughly knew where you were going, but I'm like, where? And I knew. And I'm like, okay, I know he's being ironic, but does he pull it off? And yes,
yeah, sure,
it's pulled off brilliantly.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
But it's one of those things where you get afraid, and so therefore you've got a piece of your own legacy there to pass on to your child, and also you get to pass on a reminder that, hey, Daddy was on the right side of history.
Man, thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of comics out there that are just not on that right side of history, and we can call it what it is, just like liberal open-mindedness. But I'm firmly in that camp. My dad's a civil rights attorney.
Amazing.
This is how I was raised, so I pride myself on being a little bit more thoughtful than your average comic.
Yeah, no, and I will say also early on, I've been doing this show for almost 10 years. Like early on, I always was trying to like pick the brain of comics who I'm like, and they're like, well, the laugh is the only thing that matters. And I would try and dig in a little bit more and be like, okay, yeah, I get that, yeah, technically sure, but don't you want the laugh to come from the right place?
Right, for sure.
Who wants to perform in front of a bunch of people who were, I mean, unless you think you're going to change their minds, why would you want to perform a bunch of people who were laughing for the wrong reasons?
Absolutely. And I think people also are like, I'll always get asked the question in interviews because journalists like to think they're getting a gotcha moment, but they're like, is there anything that's offsides? Is there anything you can't joke about? And they're expecting you to go down the rabbit hole of whatever was some comic joked about controversially. And I always say, you can joke about anything, but what's your angle of attack and why are you joking about it? Yeah. Like if you're joking about it for a cheap laugh, if you're doing it just in a mean, bullied way, or to get bad boy points for doing controversial material, then I just really think you're not realizing the potential of the art form and also just lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is that so hard for so many people to understand is what I don't.
There's a lot of dumb fucks in this field who are bro idiots that just want to be cool. And I don't have much patience for it.
It's fair. That's fair. I mean, neither do I. I there's also been, I feel like what do you call a thread in my own interviewing where I have quite often just been like, oh, when I hear something terrible or stupid from someone. It doesn't happen that often. I'm making it sound like I've just interviewed a bunch of Ku Klux Klan members on my podcast. Yeah. That's never happened.
Alt-right comedians, and that's it.
Right. Just that's it. That's all I do. But yeah, no, they're just, I don't know. I feel like we have leaned towards, again, the right side of history in the last few years, people opening their minds. And I feel like after this year, if you somehow aren't paying attention and your act doesn't change if it was something else, like really, like what are you even doing?
I totally agree. And especially after this year, but if you should have been doing this for years. Like, there is a certain, and this probably with improv too, it's almost like when you start doing improv or comedy, you're like a child seeing what you can get away with.
Absolutely, yeah.
You test the boundaries, and you're like, here's my abortion joke. Here's my trying to be blue and racy, and you're so young and naive in the art form that you feel like a badass getting away with something.
Yep.
If you don't self-edit and review and be like, I don't need that joke. That's easy. That's lazy. How are you evolving as an artist? You're not. And so I'm not going to hang on with you that long as a fan if you're not sort of improving and trying to sort of ask why you're talking about the things you're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my high horse.
No. I'm glad you're on that high horse. It's one of those things too where a lot of comics are not necessarily, maybe unless they're asked about it, going to have the opportunity to say those things out loud. Because you also feel, you also hope my art is speaking for itself. I shouldn't necessarily need to say this unless it's within my art. So, I also get that. So we have a rough idea of where some of your comedy comes from, aka you were raised right by a human. I'd like to know a little bit about though, like who were your biggest? I'm sorry to ask the influences question, but I would like to know what your biggest influences were. It doesn't necessarily have to be another stand-up, but I'd like to know what got you into it.
In stand-up comedy,
or comedy in general.
Well, comedy in general was always like the thing I liked the most. I remember, I negotiated my bedtime to after Letterman's Top 10. So I gotta watch the opening monologue, they'd do a weird bit, and the top 10. And so like that, I'm doing this as a 11-year-old.
Yeah.
And so I clearly liked it. And I remember at school one time there was an assembly and everybody at my small private school had to give a speech, and it was like the biggest source of fear amongst everybody. I think it was like 7th or 8th grade. It was that year you had to give like a 1 or 2 minute speech to practice public speaking. And I was a wallflower. Nobody liked me at that school. I didn't like anybody at that school. And I wrote a top 10 list and fucking destroyed it. So and all the other kids, nobody else could do a speech. They like stammered nervously. And read my top 10 and crushed it. And for that next day, I was like, okay. And then it was back to the nerd table.
Sure.
But I filed that away somewhere deep. And so then I got to high school and started writing for the newspaper. And we just did our Onion ripoff impression all the time. You know, Simpsons was I worshipped at that altar. And
of course.
Got really into Wes Anderson. Is it very funny? I love Wes Anderson. So all those influences. But when it came to hard stand-up, I went to an open mic in Denver because I was curious about it.
Okay.
I had lived in Chicago briefly and taken classes at Second City. I took sketch writing and improv.
Okay.
Because I was flirting with comedy. But I didn't like either of them. I liked the sketch a little bit, but I don't think I liked Second City. It was very rigid and whatever. Moved back to Denver for a writing job, went to an open mic, and saw how bad that comedy was.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for some reason, allowed me to try it. Because I knew I wouldn't be as bad as those guys. And I went back the next week, and that was 16 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit, man.
So I've been doing it ever since.
What? I mean, did you feel immediately hooked? Or, I mean, or even... How was the first set, even at the open mic?
I should say, prior to that open mic, I met a guy at a bar named Ben Roy, who is now my dearest friend. We had a TV show together, a great comic in his own right, Ben Roy. But I met Ben at a bar, and he's like, I'm a comic. And I later learned he'd been doing it like 6 months, which is hilarious. He would say he was a comic. But I was just like, it just demystified it. I was like, oh, I've never met a comedian. I thought you had to be on TV to be a comic. And he's like, no, I do it here. I sometimes do it at the club. And so he pointed me to the open mic. And I saw him go up, and he was funny. Saw a couple other dudes go up. They were funny. And the rest were just such shit that I was like, oh, there's levels here. I can certainly be the 7th funniest person in this room out of 25 on an evening. That seems worth trying. So I did. And there you go.
That's so good. Do you have any idea what your first set was? Do you have any rough idea?
I do, because I went over it in my head backwards and forwards and memorized it, and lame stuff. My first joke was about having a hyphenated last name. And how I can't forget what it is, but it was like, it's a competition for my parents. Whoever dies first, I'm getting rid of their name, was basically like. So it's like a competition for them to outlive the other, or something like that.
Joke. That's not a bad joke, though.
Not a bad joke. It was better than that, but it was in that vein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're now making me think. I would desperately love to see, once the world is back in order. First of all, I'd love to see the world be back in order. That's number one.
That'd be great.
Number two, I'd like less racists. Are you a genie? Is this what's happening? Why am I asking for you for? Number three, I would love to see artists who would be willing to recreate that first set.
Oh man, that'd be.
I would like to see that.
That'd be a cool digital short series. Go to the place, and they're all old and bald and fat, and they're have to pretend they're doing their 23-year-old jokes. It'd be great.
All right, well, this is my new project, ladies and gentlemen. My first set coming to you next year. That would be amazing.
Dude, I would. I'll be on your show.
See, ladies. By the way, speaking of your last name, did I emphasize it properly? I'm realizing I may not have.
You nailed it. I'm
Okay.
very on the lookoot for that. So yeah, you did.
Okay, because sometimes I wasn't sure. Do I emphasize the Cayton or do I emphasize the Holland first?
Holland.
Okay, good. All right, okay, good. So I didn't F it up. That's good. People get my name wrong all the time, and I like to ask, and I forgot to ask you ahead of time. So let us talk a little bit more about this record. I don't see. I'm realizing it's not as easy to interview somebody about their own record.
It's weird too. It's hard to talk about your own record. When I started talking about my dick from minutes 7 to 11, I think you can really, really see that I am a woke individual.
You know what I would like to know though, for you, what was the process in terms of how long did it take to get here? In terms of how long were you working on all this material? Was some of this any reworked older stuff in terms of stuff that you used before, maybe pulled back out, or was it all brand new? Generally, what was the process of making it?
I probably, I've had a pretty good comedy work ethic. I think a lot of Denver comics have, because we just don't have anything else. So it's get your hour and make it great. And so I put out 2 albums before this, but there's probably about 2 years worth of stuff on there that I find, and I feel just like at some point you just know you're like, I'm crushing with this hour, and I don't feel the need to change anything. And I also had gotten a half hour with Comedy Central, which comes with an album deal. So I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, let's do it. So yeah, I don't try to overthink it or be too precious about it. If I like the stuff, and I'm not crazy sick of it yet, then it's good to go. And I think that's kind of a way most albums should be. It's like, dude, stop fine tuning. Like, it's a time and a place. You nailed it. It's going. You're getting laughs. Done. This hour's done.
See, that's something that doesn't come up often either. Is I will tell you, a lot of the times at the end of talking about a record on this show, usually it'll be old, and I'm slowly but surely trying to weed out stuff that I absolutely either hate or, I'm starting to realize, oh shit, I should never have liked that in the first place because it's terrible. Because, I try to avoid the, oh, well, it was a different time. But I will say one of the things that comes up a lot is it was a snapshot of the blank decade. It was a snapshot of this. But, I mean, it's unavoidable that it definitely is a snapshot of the night.
Yeah, of course. That's why I like leaving in little riffs or, on this album you can hear bocce balls rolling above head because I was in the basement in New York, and they have bocce ball courts above. Remarkable. And that's funny. So I'm not I think I'm maybe a little bit more lax than most comedians, but I feel with regard to that, with like being like, it's done. You don't need to fine tune it anymore. The note process wasn't that hard. Just like where you stumble over a line or something, just those kind of changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the way to go for me. Snapshot of a night.
Yeah.
And it's a live album.
Right.
If it's like supposed to be, it's not. That's the difference between being a studio musician and making an album and doing a live album. We can't go into the studio unless you're doing some, Adam Sandler, Bob Newhart weird bits. But in terms of a live performance, just let it be live.
How would you function? This is something that I think about a lot. I've only had a couple comics on here who have done it. How would you feel if you had the pressure to do a brand new hour every year, like, say, at the Edinburgh Fringe, which is there are stand-ups who I have interviewed who I think for 12 years have done a new hour, recorded it, and then it goes into the ether. They don't even turn it into an album, which in my brain is a waste, but do what you're going to do. How would you function in that?
I mean, I would function just fine. I could do that, no problem. But it's the financial aspect. Like,
that's huge.
And be a struggling artist, and like, if I could do that and I'm getting paid to do that, by all means. But I write scripts and find other ways to pay the bills. Like, I don't think currently I could do that. I don't think I could afford to do that.
Right. I mean, well, that's just it. I mean, you're paying for your own way for all of it, and that's what blows my mind too. Is how the fuck are they doing it?
If I'm, Bill Burr or something, or Mulaney, and everybody wants me in a theater 30 days out of the month in better times. Yeah, you can churn out material like that. You got so many opportunities to work on it.
It's true.
So but to those Edinburgh dogs that like, I was going to go to Edinburgh this August for the first time ever. I was
really?
Fuck. That's gone.
God maybe damn it.
But those guys, those British and UK comics, like, that is incredible to me. That's truly an artist driven to just like in love with the form, and I'm blown away by that level of commitment because I'd have it if I could afford to have it.
Right.
But they don't even care. They're like, well, I'm just dirt poor, and that's how it is. Wow.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I mean, to be fair, they also do have something of a what's the word? Not a golden parachute. It's the opposite. It's what poor people have. Safety net. There's more of a social safety net there. So it's maybe a little easier to explore your passions a little bit.
Yeah.
Free healthcare, things like that.
Fucking A, man. You're very right about that.
We live in a real fun time and place where, it's not emphasized that you're allowed to be an artist if you want to be a fucking artist.
I know.
And people sort of forget, I think, that stand-up is an art. I do think there are some people maybe that I speaking to what I was talking about earlier, who maybe they don't feel like their stand-up is an art. Maybe that's not how they look at it, and maybe they think they're not being pretentious by not thinking of it as art. But I just think don't you give it more effort or a little bit more love if you think of it as an art?
Yeah, I think it's a slippery slope, because if you start being like, I'm an artist, then you become real pretentious, and that's sort of the death of comedy. So I think most comics, if you pin them in a corner, will 100% be like, this is as valid an art form as anything out there. But you start going around saying that, you sound like a real asshole. It's kind of, you kind of gotta let, so we know it, but we don't want to talk about it because it makes us feel itchy to have us told that we're being profound and important. We're like, I tell dick jokes, and it's a quick way out the back door.
Yeah.
So I think it's like we don't like talking about it, but we acknowledge that fact.
I would like to see you in an ascot up on stage being a pretentious artist stand-up, though. I wouldn't turn that away. That would be a solid bit.
I got a closet full of cardigans gathering dust right now.
Please.
They were ready for Edinburgh. And I don't care if it's August and hot as shit. I was going to wear a cardigan every show. So don't worry. This pretension comes real easy with this guy. I don't need pushing in that direction.
Good. Well, I'm just hoping one day, I see you in a smoking jacket and a pipe on stage and a monocle, and Adam Cayton-Holland is all of a sudden become the comedian's gentleman.
And you're like, that was terrible. That was awful. And it was 2 hours. Wow.
But it was art. It was
art. But God damn it, it was art.
Is there a choice behind? I'm sorry, I love colored vinyl. So is there a choice behind it other than it matches the art that was already made for the record? Is that how it went, or what was your choice behind it? It is, honest to God, I have never seen this color vinyl in my life. I've never seen it. It
matched the writing.
Yeah.
And honestly, the Saddle Creek guys were high on it. They were like, this looked dope. Because the photo they sent me was not as cool as it actually looks.
Oh, okay.
And trust me, it looks better in execution, and I love it.
It literally looks like honey. That is what it looks like. It's like honey has been turned into a record.
Hell yeah.
It's a good color. I've never seen that color vinyl in my whole life.
Well, I'm glad you dig it.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's a good record. Again, you look so stern on this cover. So stern.
I told my buddy Civil War General. He's like, cool. It's from a real photo, but he
It is. It's the sternness. It's the beard. Don't get me wrong. That's a huge part of it too.
Union Civil War General.
Yep. Well, yeah. You know what? That's a very good point. Union Civil War General. The record is delightful. The packaging is great. Tell people where they can find it. We don't have to end it here because I have a couple other questions, but I do want you to tell people where they can get it.
They can get it on saddlecreek.com, saddle-creek.com. And I don't know how, people listening to this, it's the first comedy album that's ever been on that label. And I'm from Denver. The label's out of Omaha. And, it's Bright Eyes and Cursive and
that's
all
crazy.
The sad bastard singer-songwriters of the Midwest. That's what this album is. And I'm just floored they would respond to my vibe comedically enough to put out the album.
That's nuts. To be a label's first comedy record, that's not nothing, man.
It's great. And I'm telling you, like, when I was 19, I heard Bright Eyes for the first time ever. And I remember reading a review of him in Rolling Stone, and it was so effusive. They're like, he's the Bob Dylan of the plains and blah, blah, blah. And it was very hyperbolic, but all I registered was like, whoa, this dude's making this much noise out of Omaha, Nebraska?
Right.
And it was like, I live in Denver. That's bigger than Omaha. Like, maybe I can make it out of here. And it sort of led to this rabbit hole of, write what you know and be where you're from. And you don't have to go to LA or New York to make it. It really just like fed a whole ethos that I've kind of lived my life by. So that Saddle Creek helped me grow in a lot of ways. So for them to come around years later and be like, we like you enough to put out your shit is like a real dream come true. It's very cool.
No, that's fucking remarkable. That's so good. I love hearing that stuff. Not just, it's great to have an album come out, but you can also self-publish, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with self-publishing your own shit.
Nothing at all.
Right. But it is great when that's a nice little bit of validation from something a place that you give a shit about.
For sure. And you were talking about art, comedy is art, and we don't like to say that, but when a label that's been making art that you love for so long is like, we like your shit, it gives you a nice little pat on the back. It's like, I think I'm going the right way.
You just made me realize that is what comedians call their own art. Yeah, it's my shit.
My shit.
Damn it.
We have such a base level of self-loathing. It's hard to pull out anything eloquent about ourselves.
And like, also, this is a record where you're making some valid social points in a fun and creative way, and you still refer to it as dick jokes. Like, that is like code for like, yeah, no, I tell a bunch of dick jokes. Like, I feel like there are people who say that and haven't told a dick joke in their entire careers. But
I know. But those are my favorite types of comics. They're not the ones who are self-effacing.
yeah, of course. I mean, you have to be, right? So I want to, before I let you go, and I, again, appreciate you've been very patient through some crazy scheduling problems that were all
good. This
on
is
my
fun
end.
to do. I'm happy to do it.
Well, thank you. Are there comedy records that have ever been recommended to you that you haven't actually sat down and listened to? Has anybody ever because I will tell you, you're not alone. I have had a lot of comics of our age, slightly young, definitely younger, but even older, who are like, I never listened to a comedy record. So I don't know what your exposure was at all to people saying, hey, you should listen to this or blah, blah, blah.
It wasn't like that. No one dropped. But once I started doing comedy, people started telling me things I should listen to, and it, not necessarily vinyl, but just albums that I should
any album.
Go down the rabbit hole of this comedian. For me, one that really did it, I was kind of talking about how I wrote for a newspaper in Denver, and the music editor and I were friends, and it was like the Alt Weekly of Denver, and he got albums all the time because he's the music editor. People just send him stuff and he got this one comedy double album, and it was Invite Them Up. I don't know if you know that.
I don't.
It was a show ran in New York for a long time by Eugene Merman and Bobby Tisdale.
Oh my
God.
God.
It was a double CD. And honestly, and it was like all the indie kings. It was like the dudes from Stella, like Michael Ian Black and Michael Showalter, early Birbiglia, Eugene Merman, like Aziz was on that,
God.
And it was just indie comedy out of New York in the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's just jam-packed. Every track is a different artist.
Wow.
And so I got that, and that was like the moment in a movie where it's like the 70s and the older brother hands the kid the album and he puts on his headphones and like, whoa, like mind expanding. It was that for me, just because I just didn't know that comedy could be that free and creative and goofy, but also hyper intelligent. A lot of like, the Wet Hot American Summer type vibe of comedy. Yeah. So that album, now people would probably be like, yeah, duh. But at the time I got it, it was, 2005, 6, and it totally opened my brain to a different type of smarter comedy.
I love that. No, I don't know that. I've never heard of that particular record, but I haven't heard of a recent like comedy sampler in forever.
I know the show itself was called Invite Them Up.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was Eugene Merman and Bobby Tisdale hosted it, and you should check it out. I feel like
I'm going
to would be very into it, and I'm blanking on half the artists on there, but they're all our favorite comics. Like it's very cool.
Good. That's really good. Okay.
Mulaney's on there, Nick Kroll's on there. Like it's early.
Crap. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down right now because I
might be on there. It's good shit.
So good. Okay. I'm gonna hunt this down. I'm gonna get it. Holy shit, is it expensive on CD? So I'm gonna get the MP3 version. That CD is a $36 CD right now because it is way out of print.
Double CD. It just came to the offices of the newspaper I was writing for, and the music editor's like, "You'd like this? You do comedy."
Yeah.
On my desk.
Holy shit! I'm sorry, but I'm looking. Just a quick look, and it's like, that's insane. First of all, that's also something, by the way, if anybody's listening, re-release this thing but put it on vinyl, please. Right? That's remarkable. Shit, I got so distracted by that, I forgot to ask you.
I know. You look at the artist on the back. It's stunning what a collection of talent that is.
Eugene Merman, by the way, I still can't get his company to send me his record because it was 7 vinyl records in one box set, and
wow,
including I think one whole record or one whole side that is different types of orgasms. It was an experimental comedy record that I desperately want. He's insane. Adam, this has been a lot of fun. I really, really, really appreciate you talking to me.
Of course.
And I appreciate you making good comedy. Not just good comedy, but well-intentioned comedy. You don't understand how important that is to me.
No, that's nice of you to say, and it's important to me as well. So thanks for recognizing that.
I have 700 or so records here, comedy records, and I tried one year to listen to them all, or at least one a day.
Yowza.
And just so you know, most comedy records are garbage, and I do a podcast about them. So it's nice when something comes along that is good. And I realize that, again, this is a snapshot of a certain era, which to me is an era where comedy is getting better, for me anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there with just a little bit of research. Mm-hmm. And why not reward the artists that are putting out quality shit and thoughtful shit?
Agreed. And I will just quickly, I know he doesn't listen, but thank you to Scott Aukerman for exposing me to you, because I think that's the first place I probably heard you was on Comedy Bang Bang.
Yay, Scott Aukerman. He's great too.
He's a delight. Adam, one more time, you can get this at saddle-creekrecords.com, right? Yep. Where can people follow you? Do you have anything coming up?
Yeah, AdamCayton-Holland.com. Mm-hmm. I can't remember if there's a hyphen or not. Just Google Adam Cayton-Holland and go to my website. I have a new album, another Comedy Central album, out August 3rd, called Semblance of Normalcy. And I do a podcast called The Grawlix Saves the World. It's a delight. We're having a lot of fun. The Grawlix, Grawlix, Saves the World.
Love it. Thank you so much for doing the show.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I'm glad it finally worked out.
Everybody, please pick up Adam's record. I never get to say this. Please pick up the record and get it on vinyl. Come on. It's a beautiful honey-colored record.
You could do worse.
You absolutely could do worse.
You could do worse. When you think of my name, think of that.
Yep. I'm the biggest idiot. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, have a good thing. Comedy on Vinyl is a production of StolenDress Entertainment. It is produced by Mike Warden and is hosted and edited by Jason Klom. Our theme song was composed and performed by Richard Levinson. You can email us at podcast@comedyonvinyl.com. You can also send snail mail to StolenDress Entertainment, P.O. Box 805, Burbank, California, 91503. Subscribe to Comedy on Vinyl on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can find podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It helps. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Comedy on Vinyl, or find everything in one place at comedyonvinyl.com. A major portion of Comedy on Vinyl has been underwritten by Stand Up Records. Please visit standuprecords.com for all your comedy needs, and tune in to the new Stand Up Records channel available on the Roku, where you can also find select episodes of this podcast. Visit StolenDress.com to listen to our other podcasts, watch videos, and imbibe freely of our multimedia content going back 15 plus years. StolenDress Entertainment.
Hey, it's my turn. Ah!